Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. As well, we had another kind of surprising week. I don't think it was things that we expected to be announced, but we got one heck of a Final Fantasy VII celebration show.
Yeah, man. A digital Buster clock. What more could you want?
Exactly. And then something that Marc was adamant about next week was not going to happen, did happen. So we're, going to talk about that as well from Capcom, and then of course some other announcements and things that have hit the news since the week before. But I guess let's start how we always do. What have y'all been doing this week, Marc?
V Rising and a little Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but the real game I'm playing is Final Fantasy Typo HD Remix.
Again? Didn't you play that?
I'll put it this way. My last save file from that thing is 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I saved a game and it's like, your last saved game was 2015. I'm like, yeah, that checks out. And I didn't finish it then.
So is that when it first came out to the console?
That was a pretty early game, yeah, because that was a PS4 game, and I think it was 2014 or 2015. They thankfully fixed the motion blur, at least in the PS4 version, so it doesn't look like garbage.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, that's about it.
Well, Daniel and I have been playing that TMNT Shredder's Revenge, thanks to Game Pass. I played on Father's Day, I played about like 4 levels with Anaya. She's still kind of easing her way into console gaming, so it was just cool to see her be kind of really bad on the first level. I'm having to save her a lot and kill most of the foot soldiers, and then by the time we get to level 3 and 4, she's kicking butt herself and figuring out the buttons. There's a lot of combos and different things that were not around when you had the Super Nintendo and earlier arcade versions of this game. And Daniel, I thought overall the game is just so lovingly done, from the music to the names of the episodes that are taken right from Turtles in Time and inverted, basically. The little story bits. I loved all of it.
Yeah, the voice acting in there as well. It's a surprisingly deep move set. I was surprised when I looked through the move list and saw how it just seemed like it kept going. But as large as it is easy to pick up, and you find yourself learning it very quickly. Now, I've only played the story mode. I haven't tried getting into the arcade and the speed running and everything. And I played it solo, just trying to get a feel for the game. But overall, it's a really fun game. I beat the story mode, then went back and was trying to get different accomplishments with different characters, different play styles. And the different characters, they feel different when you're playing them. Like if you switch between turtles, or you switch between a turtle and Casey Jones or Splinter, April, whoever, it feels like you're playing with a different character. It doesn't feel like it's just a reskin and it's the same moves. Overall, the game is great. I love it. It's going to be probably one of my top games of the year, just because everything that it did felt well done.
Yeah, I like the special attacks that got added in there as well. There's a power meter that keeps growing as you keep building up attacks as well. So if you get it to number 3, I think you can get unlocked invincibility mode for a little bit.
Yeah, there's a bunch of special attacks that you unlock as the game goes on. And then there is that one that I don't think it's invincibility so much as just your regular attacks deal more damage.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay,
so, yeah, overall, it's, like I said, it's a great game. I can't wait to get a few people together to play it, either couch co-op or online. My kids were away this weekend, so I didn't get a chance to try to get them to play it, but probably tomorrow or Tuesday I'm going to be.
Yeah, and I was having a blast. She played as Splinter. I played as Michelangelo, my favorite turtle, so we were having fun there. It constantly rewards you with stuff. I was surprised with how many achievements I got for just doing a bunch of different team attacks, or killing a certain amount of enemies or whatever. And then I love the bosses as well. I thought they were really well done.
Yeah, and some of them are deep dives into the lore. Also, the hidden collectibles that you get throughout the levels, a bunch of those as well.
I like the world map. It kind of reminds me of like Mario 3 or something.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go back and forward on it. I mean, it's like I said, I can't really think of anything really bad about the game.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything honestly bad. I think it's a really great game, and once again, like just Tribute Games .mu 2 years in a row between Streets of Rage 4 and now TMNT absolutely nailed it with bringing back old beat 'em ups and doing them well, and modernizing them as well. So, if for some reason you haven't played it yet, it's actually I think only $25, so it's not that bad. Obviously, if you have Game Pass, if you have Game Pass, you get it through there. So there's that.
I've heard Turtles has good internet for once, or good online at least.
Yeah, it has some really good. It's just drop in, drop out. So you can, in the middle of your playthrough, you can try to go find people that are online to join.
I mean, it's actually functional, unlike Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks, like so many of these old, co-op games, if the person that's playing decides to just stand there and do nothing, you can't advance. So you got to hope that you get people that are actually paying attention and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and not just coming in there to be an annoyance, or just leave halfway through the level and don't really help you. One of the two. So, did you try the online at all, Daniel, or you just?
Not yet. No, I've just been. I started just by saying, well, I've got an hour before I have to get ready for work, so I'm just going to try it out. And then it was, well, I really want to finish this and beat the game before I try anything online.
How long would you say you think it took you to beat the game?
I mean, the story mode, 2 to 3 hours maybe. It might have been more, but I mean, it's one of those games where you don't really notice the amount of time that's going by as you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. You just go in the next screen.
I mean, I'm thinking back to the times that you see at the end of the level. And it probably was longer than that I played it, but it just didn't feel like it.
Right. Almost bit the apple and upgraded to PS Plus Extra, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait till there's a time where I'm going to have a good chunk where I could actually play with it and play some games on it. Because I was like, it's only $30, but it's like, man, am I going to use that?
So never?
No, that's not never. It's just, I was just kind of looking through it and, just having the ability to, I think once Stray comes out where I will actually feel the need to get it because I want to play Stray, is probably when I will be testing it out and everything. From what I've heard, listening to people's thoughts and everything, it seems like if you have good internet, the cloud streaming works pretty well. The PlayStation 1 games are obviously don't hold up very well. And it seems like the consensus is, unless you like a lot of retro games, premium is not up to snuff right now. It's definitely not worth the extra money that you're paying. But extra, if you haven't played a lot of those games like me, then I think that's worth it to test some of those newer-ish PS4, PS5 games that are there. Hopefully they do fix the issue where if you have a PS5, you kind of don't get to appreciate it that much right now because they don't give you the upgrade. They give you only the PS4 version, which seems kind of crappy. But perhaps that will be something that they fix along with some of the PS Plus upgrade stuff, where if you claim the game on PS Plus, you apparently, and it's on that service, you can't play it right now. So don't know if that's going to get fixed or whatnot at some point, or they'll just have it be that way and you have to pay an upgrade or something to be able to play it on your system beyond the PS Plus. Well, let's head on to the announcements, the Final Fantasy announcements, that some of them we expected and some of them we did not. There was the first big surprise is that this winter, now obviously that can mean December, that can mean January, that can mean February of 2023 as well. We're going to get a Crisis Core remake that they're calling Crisis Core Reunion, Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Well, it's more of a remaster, but it looks really good. And it's going to be on all the systems, including Switch and Xbox, which I think many probably would not have expected when they were announcing this. And yeah, it looks like, they're going to have, aside from the enhanced graphics, 3D models. It seems like perhaps they may be adjusting some of the gameplay as well.
Yeah, like that DMW thing, like barely in the game.
Yeah, they're probably going to try to make it more like what you see in a remake, which makes more sense. And I mean, you're the one that's played this game, Mark. I mean, how do you feel about being able to play this now and don't have to have an emulator or a Vita?
Yeah, good. Like, I hope they kind of fix some of the mission mode stuff, because like the missions were like 5 minutes long. You could do like a bunch of like side story stuff, but it was like all like, oh, just explore this cave you've been in 20 times already and beat this boss at the end of it. Some of the visuals didn't look quite like, they looked good, but they didn't like look how the game originally looked, because like that game had like kind of a weird like digital look to it, or like almost like cyber look to it, and it didn't have that at all. So we'll see. I mean, I'll get it because I actually really do like that game.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play this game so long. So like the fact that it's finally coming to a system that I already have is awesome for me. I mean, yeah, I could have played it through an emulator and everything, but it's not the same, and I'm super excited for that to finally hit. We did find out that there's going to be a closed beta for Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, which is perhaps the closest thing we're going to get to a sort of remake or something akin to what the original game is in a more modernized way, with stuff from Crisis Core and Dirge of Service thrown in as well to kind of give you the whole picture of the Final Fantasy VII universe. I'm also excited to play this game as well. I like the updated visuals and everything, the way everything looked. So we'll see how it goes on when we get that beta.
It's like that Final Fantasy 15 Pocket thing.
Yeah, but the graphics look better than that thing. And that game is actually not that bad, honestly, for being like a more narrative-focused version of Final Fantasy 15. It's actually pretty decent. So that being said, the biggest surprise of them all is that we got the Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, which is not called Remake 2, it's Rebirth. And we got a little, about a minute and 30-second trailer, kind of giving hints at what happened at the end of Remake. It's coming winter 2023. Now, obviously, that could mean, again, just like Crisis Core, that could mean December 2023 or more early part of 2024.
Well,
but man,
2023. I mean,
well, but okay, winter means December, January, February, so that goes into that next year.
Yeah, but if that was the case, they would have said next winter.
Yeah, I mean, but they said next winter or this winter with Crisis Core, and then next winter with Rebirth. So, I mean, that's coming a lot faster, I think, than we all had thought.
I really hope the third one is called Revengeance.
I heard a Requiem also. A lot of people wanted that name as well.
It's Final Fantasy VII Requiem for a Dream.
Daniel, I mean, any thoughts on all this Final Fantasy stuff? Some nice surprises here?
I mean, it's good news for the people that are excited about Final Fantasy. I played 7 when it first came out. I might still have the PS1 game stored away somewhere. I enjoyed it, but I don't really have that big of a interest in replaying it. I didn't play the remake yet. I'm not against it. I just haven't gotten around to it, but
right.
I'm glad to hear that it is coming along. I'll probably wait till the full game remake is out so I can just sit down and play it through and not have to finish one part, wait year, 2 years, whatever, for the next part to come out, and then do it again.
Just imagine that 3-game collector's edition.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's what's going to happen, right? I think that's when it's finally going to be hitting Xbox is when all 3 of them are out there.
After a year.
I feel like that's what this is. They didn't plan at the beginning for this to be 3 games. It was supposed to be 1 game.
No, I expected them to plan to be like 4 or 5 games.
Well, no, at first it was going to be one game, and then they changed it to, oh, well, this might be like shorter episodes or whatever, and then all of a sudden they changed it again to, oh, this is going to be multiple products. And then I think that kept evolving the exclusivity thing because it meant that this whole project is not complete. So until it is actually complete, that's when they could release it on Xbox, or I mean, they would have to be developing an Xbox version, behind closed doors or something, for this to even come out, like within a good time frame, altogether like that. But I'm of the mind of, listen, exclusives have existed forever. I know that we all live in a world where I get it that we can't all afford every system and everything, but well beforehand what games you like and what games usually come out on what systems. So either you get a PC that gets everything, or you go by the system that you know your games come out on. So if you like Final Fantasies, you should be going after a PS5. If you like, the Halos and Forzas, you should be going after an Xbox. I mean, I get it that Xbox has Game Pass, so that makes it a lot more appealing for kids and for parents and all that stuff. But I think the whole exclusives are anti-consumer and everything. It's like they got to have something to sell their box. I don't know. That's just me. I get that. Do I wish it could be on Xbox too? Great, yeah. But the fact is, Sony's smart. They played the game. They got everybody talking about how, well, now you got to have a PS5 for this, and now you got to think about it. Are you going to wait till 2029 to play all these games?
Yeah, except they should have actually announced this during not show the game itself, but at least show like the name of it during one of the conferences, so people would actually more people would be watching this conference to begin with.
I think we live in this is not like Summer Game Fest or the Game Awards where you really need that number of how many people watched it because you have advertisers and all this other stuff that you gotta play to. Xbox and Square-Enix and all that are not doing that. They're just announcing their games. So whether you watch it live or you watch it later, or you just watch the one YouTube video of the surprise announcement of Rebirth, that's all that matters. I don't know that we need to stop what we're doing and watch this 15-minute thing just to... I just thought it was cool. I thought it was great that I was not expecting this at all. I had turned it off when they started showing the first soldier thing because I had to go back to work.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
If you had known that they were going to be showing during this thing, I mean, you wouldn't have had it been watching completely, but you would have kept your eye on it better.
Well, I mean, I had to turn it off because I had to go back to work. But when I went on my break, I finished watching it. And I was like, oh, wow. Not only did they announce the Crisis Core, they announced this as well. So, man, this is ridiculous to think about. Like, Square Enix is really just hitting it with this Final Fantasy. I mean, we're doing updates to 14. We're doing the Rebirth thing. We're doing Crisis Core. 16's coming out in the summer, but in between both those games,
yeah.
You got the mobile thing. I mean,
it's called All They Have Left.
Yeah, pretty
that's
much.
Not true. They have Kingdom Hearts as well.
Okay, but like it's like just like EA or Activision. They're not trying to resurrect their old franchises or trying like new stuff.
Well, they are bringing back. I mean, Live Alive is about to come out. And nobody thought that would come out. I mean,
yeah, but people have been crying for Parasite Eve or Vagrant Story or even like Bushido Blade, and Square's like, no, fuck you. We're gonna cram a seventh Final Fantasy game out on the market.
Yeah, I mean, and they whenever it does get announced, that Final Fantasy IX anime, and then the Dragon Quest 12, Dragon Quest 3 with the HD remake thing. So they're definitely, at least with their two core franchises, they are really giving it all they can at this point. And
when it falters, they can't blame Eidos anymore or Crystal Dynamics.
Well, let's hope not. I mean, we don't. If that succeeds, I think it does allow for these franchises to keep going down into that well. I think that's where unfortunately, with the mana stuff, not all of it hit, but Trials of Mana was pretty decent.
Well,
And
I mean, what's going to end up happening is they're going to come out with a Final Fantasy game that, for whatever reason, does not connect with players, and if it bombs, they might not be able to survive it because right now the only thing that's really making them money is Final Fantasy. So
yeah,
it's great. It's making them a ton of money, but the first time that something doesn't go right,
it's desperation.
Can they recover?
They get more and more desperate. And it's like, well, this one has to hit, and then if it doesn't hit, it's like, okay, we're gonna have problems now.
Well, I mean, they already did experience that with Strangers of Paradise.
Yeah, but that wasn't like a main one. But I mean, like, Final Fantasy 16, when that eventually comes out, if that bombs, they're gonna have a problem, and they can say like, oh, 7, Rebirth will be out next year. But again, it's just you can't place all of the business on one game or one franchise.
What's so weird about Final Fantasy sometimes, though, is like how it has this. Some other games have this too, where you don't like it at first, and then all of a sudden it gets this like cult following, like where all of a sudden this game is good. Apparently, some people hated 13, and then all of a sudden 13 has this beloved following. Same thing with 15 has this beloved following as well. Now all of a sudden, and it's just like, okay, I guess we forgot where all these games started at.
Well, people probably didn't play those games. Whatever game you latch onto first is probably your favorite in a franchise.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but I think that if anything, this franchise has proven that at least with the main ones, people tend to give it a little bit more.
I mean, there are people who defend the Star Wars prequels, and those we all know those people can't be trusted.
That's so weird now too. Like this whole that has also started happening where we just have this like, let's go defend the Star Wars prequels for some reason. It's like
because after the latest trilogy, it's not as bad as everybody thought it was. I mean, everybody looked at the prequels and said, "There's no way this could be any worse." And then Disney said, "Hold on a second.
Yeah, hold
my beer.
Hold my beer. Here we go." But those are all, great announcements for Final Fantasy fans for us here. At least, Marc and I that are big into it, and we don't have Randy and Jens here to also go big into that. But the one thing I really appreciate about Rebirth is it seems like they are definitely they are blowing the door even more about this is a reimagining. We are going to do whatever the heck we want with this thing, and you're either going to be along for the ride or you're not. I'm kind of happy for them to do that.
So that means the third game is just going to take place all in the place of the Golden Saucer.
Yeah, then they committed to its 3 games. So I wonder how much stuff they're going to cut or how long these last 2 games are going to be.
I think these games they won't be short, but you're not going to be like, it's not going to have the open world that Final Fantasy VII used to have.
That seems to be a point of debate as well. Like some folks are seeing that. Well, obviously that was the dream part, the part where Cloud and Sephiroth were there. So you really don't know if it's going to have that open world or not. But I agree with you; it won't have that world map. Like
it'll be like a bunch of towns together, but it'll be like, oh, do you want to go from Calm to like Wutai or something like that? It'll be like it'll just be like a loading screen, but you're not going to like go in the high wind and just go flying around.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd be very surprised if it has any type of world map where you walk around on it and all that. It'll definitely probably have some kind of fast travel to here and there or whatever. But yeah, so that's all your Final Fantasy stuff. Should be fun that we're getting all of this in a kind of relatively short time frame.
Where's the Dirge of Cerberus remake, man? Come on.
I think that's going to be between Rebirth and whatever the third game is. They're going to have that.
I don't think they're going to touch that. I don't think they care. No one's like clamoring for that one.
We'll see. They really wanted like redo all this, so why not remake that game too, I guess. Speaking of bringing back things that apparently Marc didn't want, but it's happening.
Hey, I didn't want it. I just the way they announced it was dumb as shit.
Yeah, so very much like the Final Fantasy one, this is supposed to be an anniversary stream, and I'm sitting here going, look, they're going to announce this because they're really going to have a stream to celebrate just Dragon's Dogma being 10 years old. I don't think so. I think they're definitely going to be announcing something, and they announced Dragon's Dogma 2 after. So it seems like it got this like cult following, and then everybody was clamoring for them to make a second one, and then here they are doing it, and it's using the RE engine. So there's that. I guess putting that engine to good use to make this game. Dragon's Dogma was one of those surprise games that I really wound up liking. I don't know. What about you guys?
I never played it. I just know what it is, or I know the big spoiler about it.
Yeah, I played it a little bit, and I liked what I played. I just didn't have a chance to devote a bunch of time to it. But my thing is, it feels like they just said, oh, yeah, by the way, we're totally working on this. See, here's the nice logo, and we're going to use our in-house engine for it.
And
that's all we have.
Yeah, not show any gameplay or actual work at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably...
It reminded me of Skate 4. Remember that?
Oh, no, come on. We've had other games that just show you the logo. Like, that wasn't great, but I mean, yeah.
But generally not sequels. Or,
Metro Prime 4 as well.
For, 10 years.
Yeah, this literally felt like something they just kind of recently decided and said, okay, we're doing it. It's in early development, so don't expect it anytime soon. But, hey, look forward to it, I'm glad that Capcom is bringing back these franchises and trying to do new things with them, and capitalizing on the ones that make them money. So I can't blame them for that, honestly. Speaking of bringing things to market, we still don't know when God of War Ragnarok is going to release. There was thoughts of it being in October. Now there's talk about it being a November game. There's also still talk about it possibly being delayed like Horizon was to early 2023. But there's also a lot of talk about Sony actually developing their own PS5 Pro controller that I guess would rival the Xbox Elite controller. I'm not one for those kind of controllers, honestly. I don't really even know what I would do with an Elite controller. But I know a lot of people that say that those controllers are great and well worth the money if you spend it.
I like that PS4 back thing, the back button thing they did.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty happy medium.
What do you think about a Pro controller? Would you want that?
If it had better analog sticks, then yes.
Also, you're not a fan of the analog sticks with the DualSense?
Well, I already had one break on me, or the analog drift. So
I did get an Elite controller a few years ago as a birthday present. I got a used one. I love it. Feels great. I like the, paddles, buttons, whatever we're going to call it, the metal things on the back of it. I mean, it's really great. If I played a lot more competitive online games, I'd probably like it a lot more than just playing games sitting on my couch. But, I mean, it definitely feels better than a normal controller in your hands.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough to say. I think if they actually do announce this and release it, it'll be really cool to see if they bring anything new to the table, or how much do they take from the Elite controller for that. Either way, interesting that Sony, who normally doesn't do this, they usually let like third parties do this kind of thing for them. If they will actually be behind doing this, and can they address the drifting issue like Marc talked about?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll actually get a release date for God of War Ragnarok? I mean, they've been confirming that it's 2022. That's when it's coming.
I mean, they're probably just trying to see like where it's going to fall, or how far along it really is, or if it how much QA it needs, or stuff like that.
And also what other games are going to be releasing around that time. Would they sell more copies by moving it a couple months later and say, well, it's still fiscal year 2022?
Yeah, they could do that, right? We know that, Last of Us Remake is September, right? So
yeah, it definitely won't be October if they're putting out the Last of Us Remake in September. Maybe November, maybe December, but I think January and February are looking more and more likely.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, you'd hope for it to become, this year, so you have another tentpole game if you're Sony, but what's better is that the game is well made and can live up to whatever the greatness of the first game.
Well, and also
go on. Sorry,
I was going to say also with everything they're announcing about Final Fantasy that's going to be exclusive to Sony. That means Sony's paying money for that game to release exclusively for them. They want to make sure they get the most bang for their buck for that. So they kind of be shooting themselves in the foot if they try to release Ragnarok when one of the exclusive Final Fantasy games are coming out.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think if you're talking about like November and then Crisis Core is coming December or say January, I think that's enough time for people to grab God of War, play it, and then be done with it and move on to the next thing. And I think those are so different. Crisis Core is much more of a niche thing, whereas God of War has way more mass appeal. Tell somebody, yeah,
God of War Ragnarok is probably going to be like a Game of the Year contender. I like Crisis Core. It ain't going to be that.
I just mean, you want to put it out when there's
like when nothing's out.
Competition to sell the most copies. So
right, exactly. Yeah.
I think that also might be why they're kind of hovering around without releasing a actual date for it at this point.
Well, I mean, also because I think it's so hard to give somebody a release date now because how quickly things turn and you see something get delayed and then what happens? People get upset because you gave them a release date. People started asking off work. People started, pre-ordering the game. People did this and that. And then they get upset when the game doesn't come that day. And instead you give them a release window and you say, okay, well, at some point when we know for sure that game's coming, we're going to give you a date. But I think this is going to be the way, I think, until you really know, don't give out release dates because you're just setting out people for disappointment when you don't hit it. And then you're setting up your team to either have to decide to crunch or delay, and neither one of those is great, I think, in a way. So if more people have to start giving you release windows instead of release dates to make things easier for them, I'm all for that, honestly. The less vitriol we have to see online, the better, quite honest.
Oh, come on. There'll always be that online.
Oh, no, that's always going to be there, but the less we have to see devs get death threats over a damn date that a video game's coming, for good lord, people. Well, at least we can anticipate the Gran Turismo movie. It has a date. Will it hit it? Who knows? But we know the plot, and I did say that it could be true story based, and here we go. This is based on a true story, apparently. The film is an ultimate wish fulfillment of a late teenager Gran Turismo player whose gaming skills won a series of Nissan competitions to become an actual professional race car driver. The film could be based on the GT Academy contest, which was run by Nissan and Sony between 2008 and 2016 and gave winners a place in Nissan's driver development program. And this actually did happen for one of the winners, a UK racer, John Martinborough, who won in 2011, has since gone on to compete in the GP3 series and the 24-hour Le Mans and the Japanese Super GT. Hey, does this entice you to want to go watch this movie now?
It's like
no, not at all.
It's like the third or fourth plot, most common plot for this type of movie anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't.
This was one of the proposed plots for the Guitar Hero movie like a decade ago.
Okay. I think it's better than trying to come up with your own Fast and the Furious and name it Gran Turismo or something. And it makes more sense with the way Gran Turismo is. Like, that's much more about having authentic racing and the cars and all that. I mean, yeah, it's much better than or the Need for Speed thing they did with Aaron Paul.
If this is the actual movie, I just want this thing to be like a 2-hour movie in an hour and 50 minutes. Is this dude in his room just trying to get like license tests and shit like that?
Well, you review that and let me know how that goes.
Bitching that he can't get like license test A9 finished in the correct time.
Well, we're gonna get that, but sadly we won't get a Tony Hawk 3 and 4 because Activision decided to merge Vicarious Visions with Blizzard. We talked about this when they had first been absorbed it was most likely that a Tony Hawk 3 and 4 were probably going to be made or getting made, and then somebody decided, nope, let's not do that for some stupid reason. And there we got the confirmation. Mark, how angry are you?
Disappointed, but I do have some hopes that once Microsoft buys, Activision, that they'll be like, no, it's back on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine you go and you get that license, that IP, and you're not going to keep making games for it when 1 and 2 remasters sold a crap ton that I don't think a lot of people expected it to.
Although, I could actually see Tony Hawk saying, make it 3 and 4, but it has to be multi-platform.
I don't think Microsoft would say no.
Yeah, I don't think they would either.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think Phil Spencer would be like, oh, well, the hang-up is it's got to be exclusive. Oh, Willie, you're going to tell me we're not going to make that game and we can still do the thing where we put it on Game Pass and you still got to go buy it? Yeah. That is such something that is a big thing in their pocket to be able to say, hey, yeah, you can go pay $50, $60, $70 for it, or you can just pay your monthly fee and have it right here. Well, what do you know, guys? Activision says they didn't do anything wrong. I mean, what company is going to self-indict itself? I mean, do you really know any company that would go, oh, yeah, we really just missed the ball on harassment, folks? Like, we just were totally bad in this situation. I mean,
well, they would do that if they had a scapegoat picked out. If they could sit there and say, it is all this person right here's fault. We have these guidelines. He did not follow them. When it finally reached us, we performed this investigation, and we're showing everything came down to this person not doing what they were supposed to. He's gone. That's when they'll say that they did something wrong.
The problem is it's so emblematic at Activision they can't do that.
Now, with everything happening in Blizzard, because it seems like the focus is mostly on Blizzard at this point.
Most of those people being gone now, too.
Yeah, I mean, they could have... Basically, what they're saying is Activision didn't do anything wrong. It was all those people over at Blizzard. It's all their fault. When it came to our attention, we did our due diligence, and that's why we got rid of these people. That's how I read it. I don't see them saying nothing happened. I see them saying, no, we followed our procedures and we got rid of the people that did it. Nobody ignored it in Activision.
I mean, until they get rid of Bobby Kotick, who knowingly knew some of this stuff.
Yeah, he also was harassing people. So,
yeah. I mean, the fact that, like, when it came out that he was the one that wrote that letter that they blamed on I forgot her name, Fran something.
Yeah.
Wow. You went that low and let somebody just take all the blame, and then it comes out that this was you. Like, dude, what a terrible human being. That dude deserves to be, like, totally taken from the record books and never heard from again once Microsoft just, like, says, goodbye, dude. Bye. But sadly, somebody will hire his terrible ass, and we'll have to hear about him in games again, I'm sure.
Unless he just goes away. I mean, he might just not want to deal with it.
He could do that, but I don't know. I wonder if Bobby Kotick would really allow himself to not be in the talked about or in the spotlight for that long. So you did say that you were playing KOTOR 2 on Switch, right, Daniel?
I've been playing it on the PC.
On the PC, okay.
Yeah.
So you have not experienced this problem with the Switch version where it apparently just crashes after the Basilisk crash cutscene when you land on Onderon, and you can't finish the game at all.
I wish I could say I was surprised with all the other trouble that has been happening with this, with the two games going onto the Switch.
I mean,
I'm kind of surprised they put in that cut content for the KOTOR 2 on the Switch. But them also saying, you can't actually finish the developer said you can't finish the game. Like, we'll patch it later. It's like, that's...
Yeah, you pay your money for it to not work. That's great.
Well, when it first... So, like, I feel bad for the people that bought the bundles, because when they bought the bundles set, first they couldn't play the first game, even though it had released, because the second game wasn't out yet. now they can't even finish the second game because it crashes and you can't finish it.
Well, I mean, so do you have any of these problems on PC, or does it?
I haven't run into that problem yet, but
I doubt it because they probably care about that version, or you could just bypass it.
I'm sure there's a fan-made patch on the PC too if that was an issue to fix it.
Yeah, fair enough. I just hate it for Switch owners that this is what they're getting. They won't be getting that remake version. Does it worry you at all that this is the same company making the remake version?
Not so much, just because this wasn't seen as necessarily a huge priority.
Yeah,
I feel like this really happened when they saw how well the Jedi Academy series was selling. They figured, hey, we can release this on the Switch and probably make some quick release and make some quick money. And I don't think it was fully tested that much.
Okay, fair enough. Anytime I see this, it does worry about, make me worry about the other things that they're making. But it is them putting, porting something to the Switch, and that doesn't always work well.
I mean, I would say it's more worrying that it got through both QA and, their own QA and then Nintendo.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, are they really playing the whole game through like that? Or are they playing snippets of it and then judging it based on that? That's the thing, is when they do these ratings, they don't play the whole game.
Right.
And then, so they may not have ever gotten to that point on the Switch version. And then, or perhaps the testers, this is the problem when you do the QA is, it's the QA will find something and they go, look, we're way too far along at this point. We'll just fix it later. And
yeah, but fix it later should be the day of release, not.
I agree with you.
We'll get to it eventually.
Yeah. I do wonder if anybody will come out and be like, yeah, we found that bug while it wasn't out yet, and sorry, they just basically admitted that it's a known issue that will be addressed in the next patch. We cannot provide an ETA at this time, though.
Well, which is worse, if they knew about it and released the game, or they didn't do any testing and released the game?
I'd say know about it.
Yeah, if you knew about it and you released the game anyway, that's where you get into cyberpunk territory of,
because look at Fallout 4, when that launched, it was busted to shit when it came out, and they did QA test it, but it's they didn't obviously account for everything, but I'm sure they knew a lot more bugs than they let on. But something literally you cannot finish Fallout 4 bug, they probably would have told people.
Yeah, hey, stop it, don't release it right now, or you might want to do a day one patch this moment. Well, if you want to talk about something that's been buggy and getting delayed and everything else, Mark and I sure have talked about it about Skull and Bones. It got rated again, Mark. That means it's coming out, right?
Yep, right alongside Beyond Good and Evil 2.
You always gotta bring that up every time. I still have hope that game will come out, but I doubt it at this point. At least they're sticking by it. They are still, to Ubisoft's credit, man, when it comes to these multiplayer things that they know might have some kind of potential life outside of the initial release, they really go after it and support it.
The thing with Skull and Bones is it has to come out.
Well, yeah, no, it has to come out. I understand that, but I'm just saying, really making sure that it does. They have now set a date of the fiscal year ending March 2023 as when it could come out. That's a lot of wiggle room there.
Hey, if Duke Nukem Forever can make it out, you never say never.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you ever have any kind of care about this game at all, Daniel?
I remember thinking it looked like it would be a fun game, but I mostly forgot about it. The only reminders I get about it is when you see a story saying, "Oh no, it's still totally going to come out."
We're still working on it. We're still doing stuff with it.
Comes out first, that or Star Citizen.
The way Star Citizen's going, that thing could be another 10 years and still get money from people. What a scam that game is.
The problem is they just keep, the more money they get in, the more features they add, saying it'll be in the final game, and it just keeps pushing it back. If they could have probably released I'll be kind to say 4-planet game with the storyline and people would have been happy with it, and then keep releasing stuff as expansions, but instead they're just trying to release everything all at once, and I don't think that'll ever fully release.
Right.
Well, one of my favorite games is perhaps coming back, Lollipop Chainsaw. Of course, also James Gunn worked on this game, so that's perhaps why that game is so well done, well written, and of course has Suda51 all over it as well. Yoshimi Yasuda, who previously was the CEO of Kadokawa Games, which published Grasshopper Manufacture titles. This is, of course, Suda's old label. Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer is Dead in Japan. He's making a new company called Dragami Games, and Lollipop Chainsaw, may possibly be one of their first games, even though we don't know if that's a remaster, remake, sequel, or whatever. Even if it is just a remaster, I would be very happy to play that game. I reviewed that game for 4-1.
Yeah, I never played it, but I was kind of was interested in it.
Yeah, I could see them doing a remaster just to test the market for it and get the new company, as a test release, make sure everything goes smoothly, all the different parts of the company work together, and if it's popular, then they announce that they're working on a new game.
Yeah, plus it's James Gunn now. If it came out again now, he'd probably plug the hell out of it, and he's way more popular now.
He did the other day. I think they had announced it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the only time I ever worked in video games, this game right here." And it's like, holy crap, I forgot that he worked on that game. So
he did something else. I don't think he wrote it, but I think he was in that terrible future car game for the Xbox, Loco Cycle. That's it.
Oh wow, Loco Cycle.
I think he acted in that. He didn't write it, direct it, or anything, but I think he was the bad guy in that.
Yeah. Well, Alice the Madness Returns has been removed from Steam again. So they brought it back to the PC, and then Valve just kind of took it off again. It had a DRM issue for a while. They brought it back in February, and then what the heck, it's gone again. At the request of the publisher, it's no longer available for sale on Steam. What do you think that means, Marc?
I think they said that, it's like their other game is busted, the Spicy Horses game. So I think EA just yanked them all off until they fix it, or until, whatever robot at EA realizes that Alice is actually still working. Forget that game. I want Alice, or the first Alice game on Steam.
Yeah, well, he tried to launch a Kickstarter to be able to remake that game, right? But he always fails because he's crazy. It would be cool if he could do it.
Except for Alice, that guy has not made great games.
No, I agree.
Scrapyard, who gives a shit about that? He did some other one too, and I think, wow, this is terrible.
Yeah, I would really like to see him be able to remake the first one, but like you said, Marc, it doesn't seem like that's been going anywhere every time he says that that's happening. Well, guys, anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we get out of here for this week?
I'm excited to see David Tennant back on Doctor Who.
Yes.
That is, it's always a good time when David Tennant's going to be back on Doctor Who.
I don't know if I'm confident about it, but we're also getting a Quantum Leap remake or continuation.
Oh, Lord.
We need Randall on here to say he doesn't care.
I never watched Quantum Leap, but I can kind of respect it from a distance,
Yeah.
I remember catching the odd episode here and there growing up. Not really, knowing what it was about, but not really following it.
Yeah.
Right. And then I want to say when the Sci-Fi Channel, in the early days, they would play that a bunch.
Yeah, because that's when they actually had good stuff on there.
Yeah, and I'd catch up and watch that when they were playing it. They'd have entire days dedicated to shows, and that's all that they do.
Back in the good old days of Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sci-Fi had anime too. That's the whole point.
That was Sci-Fi and not Sci-Fi.
Yeah, it's actually Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi had ECW. What more Sci-Fi do you want?
Right? Yeah, that was so weird.
With the mummy character. Jesus Christ. Are you still watching Star Trek?
Yes, I did see this past week Strange New Worlds, and they have done so well this season. I'm fine with them revisiting the character that they hinted at the very end of the last episode.
Yeah. I'm glad they at least acknowledged him.
Yeah. I have a feeling he's going to get loose, and we're going to see some interaction with him, and then he'll disappear, never to be mentioned again, because nobody wants to mention that movie.
Have you watched the most two recent episodes of Kenobi since the last time we talked about it, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm caught up on Kenobi, and I'm caught up on Strange New Worlds, caught up on Orville.
What did you think of the most two recent episodes? I thought it's been getting better since episode 3.
Episode 4 still had some of the, I'm trying to think out, some of the mind-boggling dumb moments. And then the last episode slapping a stormtrooper with an open hand in the helmet, and it disoriented him. I mean,
Darth Vader getting to go in Wreck House was fun.
Just there's.
You should watch.
Kenobi always has some really good things about it, and then it has some really bad things that takes the episode down.
Yeah, like the whole just really, really prolonged thing with Leia and the Grand Inquisitor was like, good Lord, this feels like it's taking forever and ever and ever, just so they can get to the point where it's almost something's going to happen to her, and then somebody comes, and what do you know? There it goes.
You should watch the Red Letter Media review of Kenobi so far.
I have to check that out tomorrow.
Is it bad?
No, one guy doesn't like it, but the other two do, but they admit it's still a bad show.
Well, you got one part left. See how they tie it all up to get to the beginning of Star Wars 1 or 4. Sorry.
Even though Star Wars, no, man, we got 3 more shows before we get to the beginning of Star Wars 4.
Well, Andor is going to take place before Kenobi, right?
Oh God!
I think it has to take place after.
Does it?
By a year or two, or depends on where they. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Jesus Christ! Like I said, Star Wars is so bad because it all has to be there's a weird, time space or compressing this timeline thing. It's terrible.
It'd be cool if they could actually use the shows to build up to whatever the next movies are going to be, like Marvel's doing. Yeah.
They've been doing that a little bit with The Mandalorian because it builds up between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Okay.
But they don't want to go beyond the last trilogy because honestly, I think they're still debating whether they're going to retcon it out of existence or not because it didn't. Nobody cares about the movies. If the movies don't make money or don't make a ton of money, they don't care.
Oh, man, you can't just retcon 3 movies that we freaking...
Oh, they can.
...sat through.
They can. I mean, you still got the...
It'll just be like Luke waking up on the moon going, what a terrible dream.
No, it would be... so, I've seen the speculation online. Filoni had that whole thing with the... it was in the Clone Wars where they're basically walking down the path and they can change... They can see what happened in the past and can change it. Forgot what it's called. It was also in Rebels a couple times. They referenced it.
Thank God I don't watch any Star Wars cartoons.
But those are actually good.
Rebels was good after the first season. It took about a season to get going. But once you got into the second season, it was pretty good. Once he stopped using the stupid slingshot on his wrist, it was good. There was... It built off the whole Clone Wars, the mother, the father, the sister, or the father, the brother, the sister, and everything. Basically, there's theoretically a way that they could just remove the entire sequel trilogy out of existence or modify it to where things happened in different ways. But, the problem is none of the characters from the sequel trilogy, none of the merchandise is selling. None of the merchandise sold, so that's where Star Wars makes all of its money. So until they figure out what they're going to do with that, they're not going to advance any further.
Didn't they for a while say that, well, of course, I think these were including the Game of Thrones guys. Weren't they thinking about going back in the past and making a KOTOR era Star Wars movies?
Well, first they were going to be making a sequel trilogy that took place after the sequel trilogy, but did not deal with Skywalker or the Skywalker family. Then they said, "Oh no, we were going to do it set in the past and not the future." I'm pretty sure they canceled that one. They canceled Rian Johnson's trilogy. Now you got the
Taika Waititi. He's doing
you got his single movie, not even a trilogy, but his single movie. And he's been, I think, didn't he just say something that it's going to address something that's never been dealt with before in Star Wars?
Move away from Star Wars or like introduce new elements.
Yeah.
Although, Daniel, to your point, I refuse to believe that Zori Bliss action figures aren't being sold after her pivotal role in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the whole thing was, their biggest problem was they didn't have a storyline set up for the trilogy, so each director got to come in and do whatever they wanted, and it's a jumbled mess. That's why none of the movies feel like they flow together, because complete jumbled mess.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, instead of letting Abrams just have it for the 3, or let Johnson have it for the 3, it's like, oh, we have a different director in the middle, and it's like,
and the director in the middle was the worst one to get because he wanted to, quote, subvert expectations, which means everything anybody has done, and just say, oh no, this is what it is now.
And that's why the third one wasn't good, because Abrams had to like correct against that.
Yeah.
And he went the other way, and it's like, well, this is also bad. I mean, just in a different way.
Too much the other way.
Well, I mean, and I hate to revisit it over and over. And at work, I work 10-hour, 12-hour shifts. We had these conversations, but it basically comes down to what Abrams did in Rise of Skywalker, if built up over 3 movies, wouldn't necessarily have been bad. But because you just threw it in there all in one movie and said, here you go.
Well, yeah, he had two movies with material in one movie. And he made it long, but it still didn't help, or, Yeah.
And if Rian Johnson had tweaked his movie just a little bit, it could have flowed very well into even what they did in Rise of Skywalker. My big thing is, the thing I hated, or one of the things it's not a huge thing, but one of the things that I really didn't like about the middle movie, they had this whole big thing built up about visiting somebody that could help you at a casino. How he was a suave gambler who knew what he was doing, and it wasn't Lando Calrissian. All they had to do was have him have the character standing in the background wearing that flower, as that's who they were supposed to meet, but they didn't, and the fans would have loved it. They would have eaten it up. It would have been hilarious, but he didn't even do that. And so instead they're bringing him back in the third movie when he was never mentioned in the first 2.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I thought it was funny in the third one how they flushed away, I forget her name, the Asian character. The
Rose.
One. Yeah.
Rose.
Completely discarded her.
Yeah, after everybody complained and
like, she wasn't bad in the second one, but it's wasn't her character, or wasn't Abrams' character, so it's like, all right, she's out.
Well, the storyline that she was involved in wasn't that great either.
Right, that was terrible to begin with. But
I mean, that's the main thing people didn't like, was the storyline. I mean, I can make a lot of complaints about this.
I think more people wanted Finn to be more involved, and he wasn't.
Well, the big problem with Finn was he went from being competent in the first movie to a running gag in the second movie to then trying to make him seem confident again in the third movie.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
And
for whatever reason, they downplayed his role in the second movie, be it Rian Johnson, be it Disney not wanting him in a prominent role, whatever. It killed the character.
Just all the shifting, like, romance options in the movies also.
Yeah, well, I mean, the romance options I can deal with, because you can get around that, you can deal with it, that's fine. But they took the character who was a stormtrooper, admittedly not a great one, but still a stormtrooper, and turned him into a bumbling idiot in the second movie, and then he was quietly competent again in the third movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just...
And the same thing with Kylo as well. He had, like, that arc of constantly changing who he was, too. It's just like, oh, Lord, pick one already.
And it goes back to not having a story set up for the 3 movies, so whoever comes next gets to do whatever they want.
All right, so that's going to be it for this week in Talking Star Wars.
Hey, I can talk about Orville and Star Trek too if you want to.
Yeah.
Well, those are good at the moment. So
yeah, I know.
But
and if you had told me last year I would have said Star Trek was good at the moment, I would have called you a liar.
Especially the way Marc keeps talking about how it's not.
Yeah.
It hasn't been good for quite a while.
That being said...
since it's been a long road.
Getting from there to here. It's been a long time.
Still a long road for them to try to correct it, I guess, as well. So until next week, be sure to check us out on all the podcast platforms that we are available on. You can still listen to us on YouTube as well. You can go check out all of Marc Rouse's stuff on the network as well. Subscribe to that channel. You get everything we do. Talk to Keiki, the anime podcast, is also now on video as well, so you can go watch them talk about anime as they do. I think Marc had a triple feature that was including everything, everywhere, all at once, which I know so many people are absolutely loving, and I still need to go watch that movie, to be fair, as well. And so, until next week, everyone, we'll see you later. Enjoy those games.
Cowabunga.